What time is it? It's eyeshadow declutter time. Okay, so please do not ask me for my palettes. A lot of these will go to Amy, to my kids, and to some of my close YouTube friends. Yeah, there are quite a few, and some of these may have already been shown in my last declutter. They're like leftover ones that didn't find homes, but I kind of just mixed everything up, so I don't remember what was shown and what wasn't. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and get into this video. You can hear my kids, I'm sorry. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down and comment down below. That is my favorite part. And we're going to start off with the Milani. This is the Beautiful Nightmare. I really did like this palette. I got it at Ross on sale. It was like $5, and it was one of the only palettes Amy got for me. She does not buy me makeup, you guys, because she thinks I have a problem, which I do. So she doesn't generally get me makeup because I tend to buy my own makeup by the pound. And so it was kind of like sentimental for me because we were like in Salem and having a good time, and I was like, oh, that's a cool palette, and she's like, okay, let's get it. But it's time to let it go. I didn't use it that much. It is a really pretty palette, and I do think it's decent quality, and I love the fact that it's like Halloween themed, but no, I don't need it. I have this Baby Got Peach palette from ColourPop. I hardly used this. I actually bought like multiples of these. I had 2 of most of the palettes like this when I was in beauty school. I bought some for my makeup kit and I bought one for myself, and yeah. But anyways, it's a really pretty palette. I really do like the shimmers in it, and I do really like the Hungry Ghost pressed glitter, but I already have that one, and it's just, it needs to go. It doesn't have any deepening up shades for me, and I just don't like that. So yeah, I'm getting rid of the Ooh La La by ColourPop. I really like this shimmer right here called Tickled. It is so beautiful, but the rest of the palette is fairly basic, and I have these shades in other palettes that I reach for, so I'm gonna let it go. You can tell it was in my kit because it has scratches out, because you guys, I didn't use the same palette on people with like and just spray it. I would scrape out the eyeshadow onto a palette and do it that way for sanitary purposes. So yeah, I have the Lilac You a lot, and I really do love the shimmers in this palette. That is the standout. But you guys, it's time to let it go. It really is. It's time. The more I look at it, the more I want to keep it because I do really like those shimmers. But as a standalone palette for me, it just isn't it, because it doesn't go deep enough. So I'm gonna let it go. Be proud. Be proud. Okay. I have this Beauty Bay Alice in Wonderland palette. I got this in like for free for ordering a certain amount of palettes. This one is my favorite out of the 3 that I had gotten, but it's not a standalone palette for me, and the only reason I want to keep it is for the packaging, and I'm not doing that. I need to move on from that kind of thinking, so it's going. This one was kind of a hard one for me, and it's the Aha Honey. Now, I love this palette, and when I was feeling down, I used to always reach for this. Again, this is my second one. I had gotten rid of my other one a while ago because I depotted it. It doesn't look very used, but my other one was used so much. I really did enjoy this, and I do like the idea of it. But look, I have other yellows and other palettes that I can reach for. I don't need a one monochromatic small palette for just yellow. I have tons of Beauty Bay palettes that have a lot of yellows in it. I have those yellows in other palettes. I don't need a yellow palette. Okay, this one was a little bit challenging because again, it was a packaging thing. It's Pac-Man. Such nostalgia for me. I used to go to my grandma's and play Pac-Man on her computer and stay up late and play Pac-Man. And so, yeah, this is a Wet n Wild Pac-Man palette. Like I said, it's so hard to open. I didn't use it a whole lot, and getting rid of it kind of hurts just a little bit because I'm just keeping it for packaging alone, but I don't need to keep this for the packaging. This shimmer here, you guys, was actually really, really pretty. That was like my favorite shade in this palette, but I'm keeping it for packaging. Reality is I'm not going to use it, so I'm going to get rid of it. Like, I just have too much makeup. No, I don't. I don't want to keep makeup I'm not going to use, okay? That's just where I'm at in my makeup journey. And it's time. I don't know. So, I have the Orange You Glad palette. This is like one of my favorite monochromatic orange palettes that I've seen. I love this clementine glitter. That's the main reason that I've been keeping it. But you guys, I have oranges elsewhere, and I don't need a specific palette just for orange. And I do have other pressed glitters, and in my makeup journey, you guys, I've been using pressed glitters less and less. Even though I do love them, I find myself reaching for them less and less, so I don't need a shit ton of pressed glitters. It's just, I don't. Okay, Sugar Pill Fun Size. You guys, when I got this, I was so excited because Sugar Pill used to be really popular back in the day, and it was popular when I couldn't afford it. I could not afford their products, and I wanted it so bad. And then they came out with these, and it's about like, what, 3 years ago? And I was so excited because it was like $25, and I finally got to try Sugar Pill, right? But when I tried it, I just thought it was okay. It was okay. I wasn't like blown away by it. My expectations of what Sugar Pill was supposed to be just wasn't met in this palette. And it's not a standalone palette for me, and I have other rainbow palettes that I love more, so I'm gonna let it go. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of this Sparkling Cherry Limeade Violet Voss palette. It is stunning. It really is. The shimmers are fabulous, and I want to swatch them, but I know better. This is practically an all shimmer palette, and some of them are more sparkly than others, right? I'm sorry, I'm blinding you. It's all shimmer, and it's not a standalone palette for me, and because of that, I don't reach for it. There's a couple shades that make me want to keep it, like this green one and this yellow one. They are so bright and beautiful. Oh, look at that. Oh, so freaking beautiful. But you guys, I've had it for a while now, and I just look at it and admire it and then don't actually use it because it's just, you know. Okay, so Cherry Crush by ColourPop. This was a one night stand for me. The outside of it and the inside, beautiful, hot, sexy, loved it. Took it home, gave it a try once, and it sucked, and I regretted it the next day. It sucks because I love the way that this looks. I wanted to love this palette so freaking bad, and I didn't, and so I'm gonna get rid of it. I was going to keep it, and the other night Andy was like, yeah, I'm getting rid of mine, and I'm like, yeah, I kept mine. I don't want to get rid of it because I love the packaging, and I want to love it, love looking at it. And she's like, but Ash, you have the ABH Norvina mini with the cherries on it. You don't need it. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So that one's gonna go, and I'm never gonna talk about that one night stand again. I have this Revolution times WW84. It's the Wonder Woman 1984, you know, collab. This palette was actually very good, and my roommate got it for me. It was like the only palette she's ever gotten me, and I've kept it because of that. And the shimmers are really, really good. Like, they really are good. But as a standalone palette, it just doesn't work for me. There's only like 3 mattes in it, and the rest are all shimmer. And so, again, I'm just keeping it for the fact that it's Wonder Woman and that my roommate got it for me, and I just need to let that go and just hold on to that memory in my head. I don't need the actual palette to remember those feelings, and if I want to look at it, I'll just look it up on the web and remember feelings that way. Okay, so Trinity in Tokyo by BH. This palette, I've used the crap out of it. I loved it. I do. I really like this wasabi shade. This is what makes me want to keep the palette. But I have other rainbow palettes, you guys, and when I think about a rainbow palette that I'm going to reach for, this is not the palette that I think about. So I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye to this. I have the Oh Snap Violet Vase. I love Christmas and Halloween themed palettes. That's what I love about this. I do like the Violet Vase formula, although they are not cruelty free, and I am trying to get into buying only cruelty free and making my makeup collection like that. However, I'm not just getting rid of stuff because it's not cruelty free, okay? But this palette's basic. It's beautiful. I love it. It's warm and red, and their shimmers, you guys, are phenomenal. That is such a beautiful orange bronzy shade. It is a very, very pretty palette. It really is. But I'm just not gonna use it. I'm gonna look at it and admire it, but I'm not gonna freaking use it. So it's gotta go. You guys, this one is going because it grew mold, and I've never had a palette grow mold. Ever. Ever, ever. I received one from BoxyCharm. That was a Tarte palette that had mold in it. But at home, I've never had a palette have mold, except for this one, and it's my only Viseart palette, and I really did love this formula, and sadly I probably won't ever have another one of their palettes because they're expensive, so I'm sad about it. And it's the neutral matte, but you guys, that's mold. That's freaking gross, and I don't know why. I don't. It's not even that old. So that's going in the trash. I've never trashed a palette, you guys. I always give like older palettes and shit to my kids to play with. I have the Blue Moon by ColourPop, and I love this palette, and it's a great one, and I really love the Lumni shimmer, but I just have, that was my dog. I just have other blues that I'm going to use in my collection over those, so I'm gonna let it go. Okay, I have this Wondrous Escape palette. I think that this is beautiful. It is so stunning. I love these browns in this neutral color, and the shimmers are freaking gorgeous. But in reality, I know I'm not really going to use it. I'm not going to use it. I look at it and I fall in love, but I just know that I'm not going to use it, even though it's gorgeous and I want to keep it. I just need to let it go. I need to. I have this Indica by Flaunt Beauty infused with cannabis sativa. It's a pretty palette. As standalone, it's like not for me. and I've had it for a long time, and I've touched it and played with it and think it looks pretty, but I haven't actually put it on my eyes, and I'm just not going to. I have other palettes that I reach for, so it's gonna go. ColourPop Main Squeeze. I wanted to love this palette. I think it performed fine. Maui? I think it performed fine. It was like a one-trick pony for me. I felt like maybe I got 2 different looks from it, but really speaking, it was like a one-trick pony. And I do really like the Marchino. I can't say it, alright? Just psh. I like that shade, but this one's gotta go. This one looks basically unused because it was in my makeup kit and it was unused basically, but the one that I had originally gotten rid of, that was my personal one, was more used. So you guys, it's time to say goodbye to this. This is the Picasso Morphe palette. This was my first colorful palette. This was my first palette really as an adult, and it has a pan in the green and major dips in the other ones, like so many dips. I loved this palette, and it gives me all of these memories. Like, this is where it started, and I started using this off of my eyes and started using it for body paint. Like, I would take it travel with it, like to work, and on my breaks and stuff I would draw and paint on my body and practice. I need to get back into doing that, and because I had used this palette so much, I felt comfortable traveling with it. But anyways, that's just getting into the memories. If I want to have those memories, I can look this palette up on the web and see it and remember it. I don't need this old, grungy, dying, dead palette in my collection to have those feelings. I don't need a memory box. These are not pictures, you guys. I can find pictures online. I don't. Nope. It's gotta go. I have the Beauty Bay Jungle Book palette, and I really did like the color story of this one too, but it's just not a standalone palette for me, and it's gotta go, even though I like the packaging. Okay, again with packaging, this is the Lorella palettes. They're Rebirth and Afterbirth. They do not have any magnet or anything, and I did not like these palettes. I did 3 looks, I believe, with these palettes. They are posted, and you can see how bad I struggled. There was patchiness. The looks did turn out great, but it was a struggle train. And I do like this Resurrection shade. It's beautiful, but I don't need it for that shade. I don't need it because of the packaging. I don't need palettes that are like mediocre in my collection just because I like the packaging. So it's just, it has to go. The Street Taco palette by Glamlight. This was my Pan That palette this year. I did hit 3 pans, 2 very large ones and 1 very tiny one in the Lemon, and I really did like this palette. I loved it. I really do like this brown. It's a very unique, I think, but this is almost hit pan in it, and the shades that I love I hit pan in. And honestly, like, I have these colors elsewhere. The shimmers are getting old. They're starting to get chunky and not perform very well, and I'm just, I want to keep it because I hit 3 pans in it, and I do really like this palette, but it needs to go in the bin, in the trash. I might offer it to my daughter, but it'll probably end up in the trash because nobody wants that, and it's not performing well. I'll Love You Forever by Violet Voss. This is a hard one too. It's beautiful. It is a very beautiful grungy neutral tone palette with some greens. I love the shimmers in this palette. I love the way that it performs. It's stunning, but I just don't use it enough to justify keeping it. I have these shades in other palettes that I will reach for, and it's just time to say goodbye to it. It's hard sometimes, you guys, but then it's not, because what I do is I take out everything I don't want and I put it in a pile and I let it sit there for a while. And sometimes I pull things out and sometimes I add things. And after it's sat for a while and I've thought about it, I know that I'm okay with saying goodbye to these things. So this is the Street Tropez palette by BH. This one's practically brand new. These shimmers are stunning. Stunning. Yep. It's got shifts to it. Like, it really truly does have shifts, and I love those shimmers. Those two in particular. Because they are shifty, but I don't need this palette just for those two shades. Right? I don't. It needs to go. It needs to go. It's beautiful, but yeah, no, it doesn't call to me. Just those two shades, and I knew better than to swatch them, because it makes me want to keep something that I don't need to keep. This is the Nomad by Juvia's Place. It's a beautiful grungy palette. I love it. It's really not that unique anymore. This shade right here is a very beautiful poopy brown shade, baby poop shade, but I just don't need this palette. I have other palettes with these colors that I reach for over this one, so it's gonna go. Okay, so here lies Fangs from Profusion. Beauty Be Down. I'm sorry. The Glamour Weight. I'll post up the correct name. I forget the new channel's name. I'm so terrible. I'm sorry. But they gave this to me, Kristen, and I used it, and to be honest, the formula was just really dry and hard to work with, and the shimmers weren't that great. I could get over the shimmers if the mattes weren't as dry as they were. I love this packaging, and I really do like the color story, but I can't keep it because of packaging. I can't keep it because a friend gave it to me, even though I want to. I just have to get rid of it. I hope that doesn't upset you, friend. This one was in my last declutter video, so I know for a fact that it was. I'm sorry. I haven't found a home for it yet. It's the Avocado Revolution palette. It's a beautiful green palette, but the formula wasn't bad too. I just reach for other things over it, so it's time to let this one go. Yeah, don't worry guys, these will all have homes, and I will message some of my closer friends on here and ask them after my kids go through stuff and Amy goes through stuff. I think this was my other declutter one too. This is the Essentials by Violet Voss. It's a pretty palette, but I just don't reach for it. It's a little bit confusing for me and basic. Okay, so I have this palette that I want to keep for the packaging. I love it. I love Chucky. You guys, Chucky hangs out in my background. It's a Hot Topic palette. And my mom had ordered my brother a palette because he likes makeup too. And it came broken, this shade, which I tried to press back in. And they sent, my mom a new palette, and my mom gave me the broken one. And, you guys, You can make Hot Topic shadows work. You really can. It does take a little bit of finessing and a little bit of patience, but you can make it work. However, this color story just isn't for me, but I absolutely adore the packaging, but I can't keep it just for the packaging. My oldest daughter will love this, so I'm gonna give that to her. This one was a hard one, and it's Through My Eyes. It's a ColourPop collab. I don't know who the person is that they collabed with. I love this palette. I love their palettes that are this size. I wish they would do more of them. I love this color story. I loved it. I loved it. But it's an old palette. They don't make it anymore. Not a lot of people, I felt like, talked about this palette when it came out, but when I saw it, I had to have it. But it's time to let it go with a heavy heart. I will post how many palettes this is because I don't know how many, but it's quite a bit, you guys. I'm proud of myself. I have had about 200 palettes, and then I got rid of these, so I don't know. I will do a palette collection video later, but not for a while because those take a long time. So I have the Festival by Juvia's Place. Now, I love this palette. The color story is confusing to me, but the shades alone I absolutely love. I loved this red. I love this like mustard because I love mustard shades. I loved this peachy shade a lot actually, but it's just not really a standalone palette for me. I did, I think, do a 3 looks 1 palette with it, and I can make it as a 3 looks, but I don't need to keep it. I just don't. Maui might be surprised. I think Amy's gonna love this palette. It's the Glam Light Ice Cream Dream. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. I like the shimmers in it, especially this green one. But I'm blinding you. Why am I even doing that? You guys, I just don't reach for it that much. I don't reach for it enough to keep it. It's too light and pastel-y down here and not dark enough and deep enough and grungy enough up there. And I mean, it's kind of a hard one to let go, but really in reality, I know I don't need it. I'm gonna let it go. I think this was in my last declutter. I'm sorry again if it was. This is the Lola. It's a green palette. I don't need it. It is very pretty, but I don't need it. This one also came from Kristen, and it's the KVD palette. It is the Neo Pop Shade and Light Eyeshadow Quad. This is my only KVD palette I've ever tried, and I did like the formula, but it's not a standalone palette for me. And as much as I want to keep it because it's a KVD palette, I can't. I'm not gonna use it. It's like just a thing like, hey, I finally have a KVD palette, and I absolutely love the KVD foundations. They are my favorite foundations of all time, and the liner too. But I love the fact that it's KVD, but I don't love the color story. And I do love the fact that it came from a friend, but I can't justify keeping it. So I think this one might have been in the declutter video probably already, but I'm not sure. This is the ColourPop Halloween collection that they did, or not ColourPop, the Wet n Wild Halloween collection that they did last year. This is the Hello Queen, and it is a stunning palette. The formula is really good, you guys. Like, I was impressed. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this palette. It performed so beautifully, but it's mostly shimmers, and it is all shimmers except for that black, and it's just, I don't need it. I'm not gonna reach for it. I have like the Book of Magic palette. I would reach for that over that. So I'm gonna get rid of it. This also came from Kristen. I'm sorry, Kristen. Please don't hate me. This is the Revolution Makeup in London palette, the neon. I think this is a dupe for the Huda Beauty neon, and it just doesn't go deep enough for me. Like, this dark shimmer is just weird to me, to have such a dark shimmer but not a dark matte. It is, the formula of it is good. I enjoyed the formula of it, and I enjoyed using this palette actually, but I'm just not going to keep reaching for it. The, you know, one time was enough. It's, you know, for me. It was a one night stand that I enjoyed, but I'm not going to bang it again. I know I have problems. This may have been in the last declutter. I'm sorry if it was. This is the Juvia's Place, the Rebel, the Army palette. It is a pretty palette. The formula is fine, but it is not a standalone palette for me, and I'm not going to keep it because it's not a standalone, and I'm on a break from Juvia's. It's just not something I'm going to reach for. This Copacetic palette may have been in my last one. I'm not sure, but this shade is like puffing out of the pan. Oh my goodness. Trying to smush it back in. It is a beautiful palette. If it was in my last declutter video, I'm sorry. It's beautiful. It's the Frosted Foliage quad. I like their shimmers. There's nothing wrong with the formula. It's just very bland, and it's only a quad, so I'm gonna get rid of it. This one was a hard one. It's the Addams Family Hip Dot. I love the Addams Family. This color story is beautiful. It performed fine, but there's nothing special about this palette. And I'd be keeping it if it wasn't like a freaking novel. Alright? If it wasn't a novel, I would be keeping it. But it's a novel, and there's nothing that special about it. So I'm gonna get rid of it. I love the color story. I like the formula. I love Addams Family. I don't like how massive this is for that color story though. So it's gonna go, you guys. I have the Makeup Revolution Chilled with Cannabis Sativa. I love this palette. I think this is one of my first videos too, you guys. Don't go back and look. It's awful. I did horrible. But I think it was like one of my first 3 looks, 1 palette videos, and I had actually like gotten home from work and filmed that at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I did all 3 looks, and it was terrible. Please don't go back and look. But I did really like this palette. I do love this palette actually, but I just have other palettes I reach for. And so I'm just gonna let it go. I love this packaging, that like I love this packaging. I love this palette, but it is older in my collection, and it isn't the best formula, so I'm just gonna let it go. I got this for nostalgia. I love it. I loved Blockbuster. Actually, this summer I took my kids to the last Blockbuster on Earth. But this color story just really lacks for me. There's no shimmers. The formula is actually not that bad at all, to be honest. It wasn't bad. But I don't need it. I'm not gonna use it. I'm only keeping it because, well, but now I've been to the last Blockbuster on Earth, and I don't need a palette. I can get a poster or something, right? I don't need makeup. That's gonna go bad. So I have this Hip Dot Cenote. I'm saying it wrong. Palette. I love this color story. And you guys, nobody has ever mentioned, but I think that this color story looks like the Lunar Beauty color story. Their blue one, you know? I think it's very reminiscent of that color story. Now, I loved the look that I got when I used this palette, but it was a challenge to get that look. The fallout was just terrible, 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 and I haven't reached for it since. You can make it work, but I don't need a palette that I have to make work. Oh, that is beautiful though, isn't it? I don't need it though. I don't. I have other palettes that I like more. This one may come to be a surprise to some of you. It's the Midas Flower Bomb palette. They said they were going out of business and now they're not going out of business. I don't know. But this is the palette. I really did love this palette a lot. I love this Dahlia shade. I really do like the pressed glitters. I love this clover. It is a beautiful palette. But you guys, they reformulated this palette to get rid of the glitters. You can't get this palette anymore. They have gone out of business, gone back in. They're doing weird stuff. As much as I love this palette, I just know that I'm not gonna reach for it. I'm not gonna reach for it. So it's gotta go. I know that sounds so crazy because I do love that palette, but I have other palettes that I love more at this point in my journey. So this is the Alamar Cosmetics palette. It's volume 2 of the and I love this Mambu color. It's beautiful. The black is very pigmented and very good. I love this green and this shimmer, but I don't reach for this. I don't. And I don't know why, because I do like it, but I just don't reach for it. So I'm gonna let it go. And I paid full price for that palette, you guys. I was super stoked. I kind of want their one palette, the Encanto palette that they came out with. That one looks beautiful, but I didn't like the Spanglish palette's shimmers. They like changed the formula and I didn't like it, so I'm afraid to get the other one. Anyways, I have the Violet Voss Holy Grail palette. I got this in a BoxyCharm a long time ago. Not a long time ago, but it's a long time ago. And it's a beautiful, beautiful palette. This is like the ABH Modern Renaissance on steroids. It's a gorgeous palette, gorgeous formula, but I don't need it anymore. I just don't. I have the Modern Renaissance. I have the Lime Crime Venus XL palette that is sort of similar with these berry tones. It's beautiful. The shimmers are nice, but there's nothing special about it. I need to just let it go. I have the Warrior by the Juvia's Place. I love the way that this looks. It's an all matte palette. It's got this beautiful pigmented black in it. I love this Sama orange and this peachy color. Maui. But I don't need it. I just don't. And so I'm gonna let it go. I want to love it. I want to keep it, but I'm not. And it kind of goes with the Strawberry Shake too. I want to keep this palette. I love this shimmer Delish. It's gorgeous, but it doesn't go deep enough. It's not a standalone palette for me. I'm gonna let it go. This e.l.f. palette, it's the Hot Jalapeno. I had ended up getting all of these mini ones, and this was one of my favorites, but I don't need it. I have other green palettes that I love, and yeah, I want to keep it like, oh, I'm going to travel with it, I'm going to use it, but I'm just not. I'm not going to. So this one also came from Kristen. I'm sorry, Kristen. I did use it. This was the first time, like, I didn't get these when they were all the hype and rage, and so I was excited to get to like try it in all of its glory and not glory, because there was a lot of controversy. This is, I want to say it's the Ring the Alarm palette, but I'm not sure. Yes, it's Ring the Alarm, and it is a beautiful cool tone, or it's a beautiful red orangey palette, but it just was okay when I used it, and the mattes were very dry. Now it could be because it's an older palette, and this red has a little bit of hard pan on it now, so I'm just gonna let it go. Thank you for giving me the palette though. I like had fun trying it out, but I just can't justify keeping it. This one might have been in my last declutter, I'm not sure. This is the Smitten in Switzerland palette by BH. It's a grungy, beautiful palette, but there's just something about it that doesn't make me want to use it. I don't know why. I don't like this whole top row. I will start with that. This whole top row, just maybe this one is okay, but these three like are worthless shades to me. These shimmers are really stunning, I will say that. BH in the black performs fine. It is a beautiful palette, but I don't need it. This one was a hard one for me. It's the Cella limited edition palette. I don't know what it's called. It looks like this. These shimmers, you guys, are phenomenal. They really are. Beautiful. Like, they truly are impressive. This orange one, this evolving shade, it's gorgeous and kind of unique. But you guys, yeah, that evolved shade is really, really pretty, but I don't need it. I don't reach for it. I do think that it's a very good formula, and I do enjoy those shimmers, but I don't need it. I don't need it. Okay, this one was a hard one for me. They're all hard to get rid of. It's hard to get rid of makeup, especially when you spend your money on it. This is a 24 Artist Pass Morphe palette. I don't use these. They didn't call to me, but I've almost hit Pam in this green shade, because I love that green neon shade. I think they did it well. I think these three shades were beautiful, and that's what I reached into this palette a lot for. Also this starry glitter and this glitter, but you guys, it's getting old. It's time. I don't use pressed glitters as much. Those pressed glitters aren't as good as they used to be. I do really like this one and this one. Yeah, do you see that? Those are stunning. Those are stunning shades, but I don't need it anymore. Oh, look at that. I don't need it. I've sat on this palette for a while, and I haven't reached into it for a long time, and quite frankly, I'm not just gonna reach into it for that shade. I wish I was more into depotting, because I would depot those two highlighter-y shades and put them in a palette for a highlight, but I don't need it. It's going. I did use the shit out of that palette, and I do feel like I got my money's worth. Same with this palette, which my youngest daughter, or my youngest kid, is going to love this palette. So I'm excited to give it to them. This is like a Pride palette, Live in Color, that they did, and I used the crap out of it. I loved it. It's a Morphe palette. The formula is just, you know, it's okay. But I did really enjoy it, and I did use the crap out of it. I don't know if you can tell, but I did. Especially that Life shade and the Sunlight shade. But it's time. This Liberation shade is beautiful. But yeah, I'm gonna get rid of it. And that is all of my palettes. Again, please don't ask me for them. I am going to give Amy and my kids first dibs, and then I will contact a few of you guys with what's left. It's going to be a work in progress. It's going to be a process to try, because there are a few people that I would like to pass things down to if they want them. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I might just make a list and I like delete stuff off the list to each person that I send it to. I don't know. I'm gonna do my best because I have so many YouTube friends, and I, you know, want to give everybody the option to have these palettes. Oh my god, I have glitter on my face. But yeah, anyways, if you don't get any of these palettes and you are a close friend of mine on YouTube, I am sorry. It's so hard to keep things fair, but yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Anyways, I'm just gonna go. Thank you for watching this video. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. And I'll be right back with the total number of palettes that I got rid of. I hope I counted right, but there were 54 palettes that I just got rid of. I just got rid of 54 palettes. Can you believe that? That's crazy, and almost like, what is wrong with me? It's such a waste of my money. But they will get good homes or tossed in the bin for the ones that were broken. Scratch that, 55, because I didn't count the Vizzy Art because I threw that one away. So 55, but yeah, they will get homes or tossed in the bin if they need to be, or whatever. So it's fine. Anyways, I'm just gonna go. Okay, bye.